Hello and welcome back to Tomorrowland. I've got Vanellope von Schweetz with me, and we're going to build the full Autopia ride. That's my goal today, and that's going to go over here. And I'm hoping to build the full ride, but we'll see how far we get. Now, if you've ever seen an aerial photograph or a map for this ride, you know that it's pretty long and twisty, with two different paths and lots of crisscrossing bridges. And I just don't have the space or memory to build something that complex. So I've simplified my course into a kind of figure 8, and that's what I'm going to build. Now, to build this ride, you're going to need the Rapunzel's Kingdom power disc for the grass terrain and plants, as well as the Tomorrowland Futurescape power disc for some additional plant customizations, namely this one here that Vanellope's standing on. But let's go ahead and get started. And the first thing we're going to do is start to block in some of the terrain that's going to go under the racetrack. And we're going to set this right up here. It's one little notch below the edge of that terrain. And it's the same size as this block we put down last time. And we'll go ahead and style this before we put any others down. And we're going to set the theme to be Rapunzel's Kingdom. I just like that grass theme much better than the default. If you don't own this power disc, then any grass theme will work just fine. Although your plant customizations are probably going to look a little different than mine. And then we need one of these and one of these to fill that space. Alright. Now next we're going to go up to the big block and we're going to sit this in right on the corner of that terrain, just like that. We're going to put another one over here, another one out this way, another one over this way. All right. Okay, and at this point we'll go ahead and pick up this long flat terrain block, and I've got some different elevations for my ride. And so we're going to be putting some blocks in at different elevations here. So that's why I'm putting this one in. That's going to sit like this. And let me just flip this around so I'm at the same orientation as the screenshots that I'm looking at that I captured earlier. This one's going to sit right in here on the end of this, just like that. And we're going to need a second one, which is going to come down here. Then we'll go back and pick up the large block, and this is going to sit right in here up against that block and up against those blocks on the back side of Submarine Lagoon. So this sits in here just like that. We're going to drop down two of these and then go to the next size smaller and put this right here with another one right there. Alright, so that's part of the course. That's the lower part of the course, for the most part. Alright, now while we're on this block, let's come back over this way, and we're going to fit one of these in here like that. Okay, and this is on the back side of Submarine Lagoon. That's going to sit in there like that. And then we're going to pick this one up. And I'm going to start at the same level, and we're going to go up 2 notches. So just like you see it there. And we'll place that one in there like that. And then this one will sit right in here. There we go. Just like that. And the next one's going to be a little bit tricky, figuring out exactly where this goes. So for right now, I'm just going to set this in here, offset a little bit, and we'll move that one where we need it to go. Okay, so at this point, that's everything on this side as far as the large blocks. We're going to add in some hills and stuff after we get the roads in a little bit later. This next one is going to sit right over here in this corner, You can kind of see we're creating a little bit of a lower tunnel area there, or a valley area, I should say. So this is going to sit in here at the same level as the one on the opposite side. So it's 2 notches above that level. That's going to sit in there like that. We're going to put another one down here like this, and another one on the corner. And then on this side, this one is going to sit in here like that. And then we need 2 of these. This is going to sit here like this. We're going to place 1, 2, and then the next size larger, and I want to make sure I leave some room for the ramp for the road, so I'm going to move this over quite a bit initially. This will end up sliding back to the right before we're done. And we'll go ahead and stop at that point for the terrain, because before we can fit the hills in, we need to add in the roads. So we're going to come over here and do that next. So we're going to come back to the starting line, to the starting area where we first dropped down some blocks, and we're going to go up to the racetrack pieces. And I'm going to begin, let's see, with a very long piece. And I want to drop this centered right on the blocks over there, right on the seam. So just like that, centered with those smaller blocks off to the top of the track. That first piece is going to go in there just like that. And we'll go ahead and set the theme for this to be the Toy Box Roads. Set that to be my theme. And there we go. Alright, so the next piece then is going to be the starting line. And this allows us to make a race out of this with relative ease, so that you don't have to just drive around, you can actually race it. Then we'll put a very long piece followed by a turn. Racetrack curve. Okay. And then we'll go back to the very long piece. Oops. And we're going to put in 3 of these. So 1, 2, 3, followed by a very short piece like that. And then our next turn. And that little piece there will set this up so that when we put this track in, it's centered going down that little area there. But because this block is in the way, we'll have to move this down temporarily. So I'm going to drop it down 2 levels. Then we can go ahead and put this piece in. I can get up and get it selected. There we go. That goes in like that. And now we can actually raise this piece up, which is one of those goofy things, but what are you going to do? Alright, so we'll pick this very long piece up again, rather. We're going to put this on the end and continue down the middle of this little valley, and we're going to put 3 of these down. So there's 2, there's 3, followed by 2 very short pieces, and then our turn. So now we're heading over that way. Let's start with the racetrack piece, followed by a very long piece. And then our turn, and this should line us up with the edge of the terrain block up there on the top of the screen. Okay. And Then we're going to pick up the bowed racetrack ramp. This is going to sit in here on connected to that piece just like that, followed by an arch. And you see it's lined up with that block that's highlighted in yellow. So that's exactly what I wanted. And then on the end of this is going to be a long piece, followed by a racetrack left. And then we're going to pick up the medium, put that in here. Oops. And then our turn. Like that. And then we need two very short pieces just to get everything to line up the way we need it to. Whoops, I went way too far. I was busy talking and not paying attention. Guess I can't talk and scroll at the same time. Alright, and then we'll pick this piece up again to get back to that part of the drawer fairly quick. We'll put our turn in like that. We'll pick this piece up and put it down to get back to that side, and we're going to put a medium, a racetrack piece in. Sorry, misread my little drawing here. And then another turn. That goes on the end of there. And then we need a medium. And if we did this right, this should take us to the edge of the terrain like that, and it does. So then we can take this across, drop another very long piece there, and then we're going to pick up the arched piece, and we'll get back down to the main level like that. Follow that by a long piece and another very short piece. And then we need our turn. And let's pick this piece up and put it back down, which gets us back to the straight pieces. And we need a medium, which should take us right to the edge of the terrain block, and it does. And then we'll use the short turn to finish the track. So we need one here, we need one over here, and that connects the track. So there is our driving road through the ride. So that is looking really, really good. Okay, so now we can go ahead and fit in some terrain blocks here for the hills. And let's start over in this corner. And I want to get over to my screen grab here. All right. So let's get back to the terrain drawer. There we go. And we're going to grab this small flat terrain block. And I'm actually going to put two of these in here. One like this, one like this. And I'm going to change the style on just these two blocks to use the Tomorrowland theme. I'm going to apply. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. And I'm using that texture because then when you're over here looking down that way, you've got kind of the same texture you've got for the rest of the Nemo ride. And when you're over here looking that way, it kind of looks like it's part of the Nemo ride that way. Whereas otherwise it just looks weird having a terrain block sitting here styled with flowers. So I like that. All right. And from here, we're going to scroll to the right over to the hill pieces next. And we'll pick up this sloping hill, which is 2 blocks high, and that is the slope, perfect height for this. So that fits in there like that. And then on the opposite side, whoops, not that one. This one should sit right in here, so that tells me we got to move this block over half a block. So just nudge it like that. I'll pick this one up, put it down. That one sits in here just like that. And then we're going to run the hill around this block. Oops. Keep wanting to go the wrong direction. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and it's this one. And then 1, 2. So there's that. Okay, and then let's see, trying to get to my screen grabs here. Hold on just a minute. I lost my place. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick this little corner piece up again, and because we don't want to fill all of this with trees, but we need something here that's interesting. And so we're actually going to put in a little hill here. I'm going to line this up about a half a block over that seam and about a block away from the left edge, the bottom edge of that slope there. So we'll do that, and then we'll build just a simple little hill here. And that just adds a little bit of visual interest. And then we're going to do the same thing up here, because this area is a little bit bland. So we'll start on this corner, and I want to set this one up. Let's see, make sure I get this right. Yeah, about like that. And a little further over this way. So maybe about there. The exact placement of it doesn't really matter. Again, that just adds some visual interest here. Okay, the next one is going to go across over on this side. And we're going to place this about, let's see, about 1, 2, 3, 4 little nudges, and up against the edge of the road like that. Place that there like so. And then down at this level, we'll line this up with that corner, and we need 5 of these. This is going to slide across the road like that. Put 2 of them down. Then we can go ahead and move this block over now, up against the road like that. I'll pick that piece up and put it down to get us back to that part of the drawer. We're going to put another little hill right over here. And I want to do this one. Let's see. We're going to put it up against the road over here, lined up with that racetrack seam. There we go. And that's just so the player, as they're coming up here, doesn't see the turn going around the road and try to take a little shortcut there. It also makes sense then having this little jog in the road because you're going around the hill. Alright, so there's the terrain for our course. Now let's come back over this way, and we're going to add in some additional terrain blocks. And let's go ahead and pick this piece up and put it down. And I need some kind of a barrier here along this edge. I could just put a bunch of trees along here, but these are simpler shapes. So I'm going to run a row of these along here. So that it's kind of a nice edging for this part of the park. And then on this end, we're going to add in a little piece here off the end of this. And let me just make sure I got this correct. Yeah. And we're going to go ahead and change the style, excuse me, to be the toy box terrain. I'll set that to be the theme. And then off the end of that, I'm going to put down a ramp. So we need to go back to the right to the ramp pieces. And we'll use this piece. We could maybe save a little bit of memory using the same ramp piece that we used over in the Nemo ride. That actually might be better. So, just thought of that just now. Alright, so there is that. Now let's go up to the blocks drawer, and at this point we're going to put down two of these. I'm going to put one down first and we'll set the style. And I'm going to change the theme, if I go to the left, to be the plastic 2. I'll set that to be the theme for the blocks. We're building the ramp that goes up and over the racetrack. So we'll put down 2 blocks and then a staircase. Like that. And then the small floor, I'm going to place 2 of these on top of there, which makes that nice and flat. And then we're going to run a row of these. I'll put 6 of them total, so there's 4, 5, 6. And we're going to do 2 rows of these. And that's the bridge leading over the road. And then when we get over here, we're going to go up to the Building Sets Group 2 and go left to the Tomorrowland pieces. And I am looking for this piece right here. We're going to drop this down. I'm going to put this centered on that bridge that we just put in, like that. And then we're going to create kind of a round little platform here, like that. And on top of that, we'll put our spherical building. That's about the closest thing we have to the Tomorrowland Tower. It's not really that close, but it looks pretty good. So I like the way that looks. Okay. So we've got the ride kind of blocked in. Oh, one more little thing we're going to put in over on this end are a few additional buildings. Just because we need something interesting out this way. So if we pick up the Tomorrowland window columns, and we're going to place this out here. Let me get my screenshot so I can get the placement of this just right. Okay, I'm actually going to flip it this way. Not that I think that really matters all that much. But we're going to place it about there, and we're going to run this up just one nudge to the... Let's see, is that the right way on that seam? No, the other way. So right there like that on that terrain seam. And we'll put down 3 of these, like that. That just gives you something interesting over this way to look at as you're coming down the road, besides all the plants that we're going to put out here. Because this is Tomorrowland after all. Alright, so now we need the plants. And it's going to take a while to place all of these. So once again, I'm going to do that offline. And then when I'm done, I'll come back and show you which plants I used and where they all go. And then we'll put the finishing touches on this ride and wrap it up. Okay, I'm back and I've placed all of the plants. So let me give you a quick tour of what I've got and what I've placed. And again, all of these plants come out of the first 9 pieces in the plants drawer. And you can pause this video along the way to see exactly which plants I placed and where. So I don't want to linger too long. So we've got 3 of these along here, 2 across the way, and then this piece I'll swing around so you can get a good look at which piece that is. That piece sits in that corner like that. I've got 2 of these over here. And then we've run some plants excuse me, down the side. And the exact placement of these doesn't matter. If you're pretty close, that's good enough. You can kind of note the terrain seams and the seams in the road and possibly the textures on the ground. If your blocks are oriented the same way as mine, that could help you place these particular plants. And I added 2 terrain blocks under here just to kind of build something of a bridge. So you can see what those are. These plants sit up right next to that. You can kind of also note the shadows on the ground. That can kind of help too, to note where I place these. This one's right on the terrain seam. This one here is right on the terrain seam. And then around the buildings here. And kind of look at the corners of the buildings and the edges. This one's right on the terrain seam to cover it up and centered on that building back there. And again, I don't want to linger too long because that'll make this a long video, but you need to see where I placed mine. And of course, if you don't like my placement, you can always put your own pieces wherever you like. Alright, so over here, it's probably best to start on this end. So right across from that terrain seam we have this piece. And then this one is right on the edge of that hill, about a half a block off of this seam in the middle here. And that's how this fits in. And then from here we build to the left along the starting line. And this piece is kind of critical. I've got this sticking out this way closer to the road because this is going to protect the cars from hitting the 2 buttons that are going to generate the Autopia vehicles. So that's kind of important. And then up here on the hill, that one kind of covers the terrain seam. So does this longer piece here. Over here we've got those pieces. And then coming around this way, let's see, I think I already showed you these, so let's head over this direction. And we'll start on this side of the road. So this piece here straddles the terrain seam on the hill below. You can see how I have these oriented. Some of you have asked me to share my screenshots that I use to build this with, but you don't really need that because my screenshots are basically what I'm showing you right here. So everywhere I've paused is one of my screenshots. So you have that basically when you pause my video. So I don't need to give you the screenshots separately. That would be extra work for me and redundant with the video. Okay, and then back over this way again, and then over here we have these plants. And part of the purpose of these is just to provide a bit of a barrier so the player doesn't take a shortcut through here. So that's it for the plant placement. Now, I'm not going to style all of these because they got to be done separately, but I'll show you what you need to do. So for these on the bridge, these are all going to be these Tomorrowland terrain ones. So 4 on this side, 4 on this side. So you'll style those. I'll just show you the ones to do, and then I'll style mine offline in a moment. These up here on the bridge over the road are the same way, as well as these 3 along here, just like you see that we put down last time, and these over here. Okay. This piece on the corner gets styled to be the Tomorrowland piece. And so does this piece here. That provides a little grassy strip. So that's what that ends up looking like. Okay. And then one other piece that gets styled as Tomorrowland is over here in front of these buildings. So this piece right here that just gives a nice front end to that building that I like. All right. Now, these pieces here around the perimeter of this are all Briar Ridge. So this piece here becomes the Briar Ridge, and this one, okay, like that. And then same thing down from here around the perimeter of the toy box. So all of these plants along the outside edge of the terrain, not this one, but these along the outside edge of the terrain behind these buildings, up along the back side here, up along the edge along this end of the terrain, and again not that little one, but all of these along here or along the perimeter get styled to be Briar Ridge until you get to the block. And then 2 more that get styled are over here. So these 2 over this way also get styled to be Briar Ridge, and that provides a nice barrier behind the diner and the Red Rocket Pizza Parlor, or Pizza Port. Okay. And everything else gets styled to be Rapunzel's theme. So all of these along here are styled for the Tangled strip, or the tangled corner. And so on. So I'm going to style all of these offline, and again, you have to do these individually because you don't want to mess up all of your other plants everywhere else in the toy box. So I'm going to do that offline, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, I'm back, and I've styled everything. So as you can see, most of it is using the tangled terrain, except for these few pieces here using the Tomorrowland theme, and the pieces around the perimeter, which are using the Briar Ridge theme. And everything else is tangled. And those Briar Ridge trees just provide a nice barrier along the edges to kind of block in the edge of the toy box. So that's what we have. And at this point, we're just about done. We need some cars to race. So the first thing we'll do here, a little bit of logic today, not much, but we'll put down a couple of vehicle summoners. So we'll put one in here and one next to it. And a couple of buttons back here. I want to put them up somewhat close to the tree to kind of protect them from any cars that might be rolling by. And we're going to put another button up here just because, once again, memory management is really critical in my toy box. And so when we're done racing, we want to take those cars back out. So this button, a new logic connection, when pressed, we'll come over to our first vehicle summoner and we'll go down to Toy Box. And we're going to do the blue Autopia car. And for this button, new logic connection when pressed. Come over to this vehicle summoner. Go down to Toy Box. And this one will be the red Autopia car. And then to take those vehicles out when we're done, on this button, a new logic connection when pressed. Come over to each of the vehicle summoners. Go all the way to the bottom and remove all. New logic connection when pressed to the other vehicle summoner and remove all. All right, and then the last thing we're going to add are some weapon generators. So we're going to come over here. And if we scroll right in the Creativitoys drawer, we come to the vehicle weapon generators. We're going to put 3 of these across the track. Right about here around the first corner. And once again, you have to go into the properties and actually turn these on, or they won't do anything. And one more. So that's the first set of weapon generators. The second set I put right on the middle of the bridge. So right over here. And we'll put 3 of them on here. And again, you have to go into the logic menu and the properties and turn them on. And you don't want to put a lot of weapon generators, but this is enough, I think, to make the race interesting. And there's not really any place for a speed boost here. You could maybe throw one down right after you come in through here. This is about the longest straightaway in the course, but even still, you're going to be going almost full turbo speed when you hit this corner. So that could be a little bit of challenge for you that maybe you want to add, or maybe not. That's about the only place that would make sense to do that. The course is just too small, really, for boost pads. And of course, Once you get to this turn, you actually need to slow down to make that turn. So that's my version of Autopia. You can drive the course the way you do at the real Disneyland, or you can race it toy box style like I did in my playthrough video. Either way, it's a fun attraction. Next time, I'll build the interior of the Starcade. Until then, I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my video, please hit the like button and leave a comment to let me know what you think of my Autopia ride. As always, you can subscribe to my channel by clicking my photo in the lower right corner of this video. Have a great day!